Yo, yo, yo! How's it going? Oh, yeah. Camera, what are you doing? So it's another day. Wednesday. Finally, we got some good weather. It's about time. I think, like, we've been freezing and it's raining and it's been cold and it's been horrible. But now they say today it will be like 18 degrees Celsius, which is looking forward to. Hey, Yatski Kirill. How's it going? Привет. What's cooking? Hey, Zelin. How are you? How's Hey there, board, Dr. Sheldon. How are the Unreal Tournament 4 round 4 go? It's going English. There's no English in my mind today. I must say the sensation morning English. Invis graphics, what's it going? What's it going? How's it going? Shit. It's a good start of the day. I just want to say that there's no better feeling than creating concepts for a client and they're just saying, yeah, that's great, finish it. You know, instead of them saying, what about this? What about that? It's a great feeling of them just going, yeah. Finish it, please. That's great. Kidding. There was a glitch? Oh no. Is the like 3 languages just smashing together? Dear Bard. Oh, what a backhanded comment. Dr. Sheldon. Oh, that's cool. Bruno Romanos. Gria. What up? Right, so give me some topics. I want to play with that sketching style again. Give me some ideas. Let's do it. Let's do it. Butler of Infestation. What the Cerberus. That's pretty cool. Chinese Dragon. Murder Mushroom. Murder Mushroom. That's pretty cool. I like Murder Mushroom. Goblin's Lair. Alright. Let's roll it. Number 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Fire goal. Dearbird wins. Fire goal it is. Alright. Fire goal by Dearbird. I see a problem with that. That fire requires contrast. And if I'm gonna sketch with that sketching technique I used yesterday, fire might be a problem, but let's see where it goes, because I like the sketching technique. It's easy, it's straightforward, and it's not that difficult. Fire goal. A ghoul being like an undead thing. Okay. So my idea here now is that the top of the head. Shut the F up, phone. How dare you? How dare you interrupt? Yeah, that could work. So what I want to do is like make I don't know, that became stupid. Ghoul, I think is the way you say it, rather than ghoul. With the head chopped off at the top half, and fire coming out of it. A ghoul, they're like a ghost, right? What's your ghoul? What's your ghoul in life? Okay, okay, all right, all right. I was thinking, like, what's a cool take on it, and I couldn't envision anything. So I didn't want to go with the one that I started, but then I kind of gave it another thought, and I'm gonna just do it like it's tied up, crouched over a bit, so in that way it'll have at least some tension. There's some contrast in shape, some contrast in delivery, right? So it's just a generic pose. Hey, Morphia. It is like the Jamaicans Morphia, right? More fire in their slang. Am I correct? Morphia? Because it's not morphia, right? It's not morph in that sense. It's morphia. Is it the dialect patois? Is it morphia or morphia? You can't. I was saying the things over and over and over again, so you can say the second one or answer yes. Invis graphics. Like morphine. Morphia. Alright, so it's morphia, not morphia. Morphia. Invis graphics, you speak patois? That's pretty cool. That's cool. Invis graphics. So you are from there, or your parents are from there? Native language. That's pretty cool. The world is a beautiful place. Hey Nareda, how's it going? Oh, Invis graphics. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So you're from that part of the world. Sweet. It's quite interesting, you know, as a Swedish guy from the cold north. It's quite a contrast, you know. Language, living conditions, nature. It's fascinating in that sense, the world, that something like internet can bridge it, you know. Good morning, Cosmoverse. How's it going? How are you? I hope everything is fine. Image graphics, yeah, absolutely. And I think it's fascinating, and the whole thing about internet and culture. It's a weird things happening. I think one negative thing, the culture of kind of, or like the result of internet, is that a lot of times it's really hard to be proud of where you're from. I think especially I mean, this is a thing with Sweden, right? Especially, I can speak of my own experience. That if you're proud to be Swedish, you're regarded as a racist because I don't know, Vikings or the is it the far right that is racist, or yeah, it's far right, right? And they've stolen a lot of Viking stuff because they think, you know, pure. So that's like it's a shame that you can't be proud that you're like a Swedish person. And I think you should be able to be proud over where you're from, you know. And I think it is a little bit like hypocrisy. I mean, now we're going a little bit political, so I'm going to try to be a little bit stay away from it. But as a comparison, you know, like with one breath they say that Swedes are not supposed to be proud of being Swedish, but with the second breath they are proud of coming from Africa or whatever, you know. And it's weird, you know, that the Swedish culture been hijacked by far right, so that you can't be proud of being Swedish. And I remember a lot of times, because the Swedish far right, they sing like the national anthem, you know, because they're proud of being Swedish. So the Swedish school, a lot of times, I don't know how it is today, but I read about it in the news. This was after I moved away from Sweden, that they've stopped singing the national anthem on occasions in school, which is weird, you know, this country you're living in. No, the swastika is not Swedish at all. The swastika is originally the sun cross, right, from Buddhism or Far East, somewhere over there. Maybe even Arabic. No, not Arabic. It's China or Buddhism. The sun cross originally come from, and the Nazis obviously took it. But there's been many different people who took it. Finland had it, but the other direction, on their air force before the Second World War. Hey, Iglesias Miguel. Yeah, like exactly there, Bart. If you're afraid, like you're justifying by if you're afraid of it. Like I personally, I'm proud of being Swedish, and that doesn't. I mean, I'm far from racist. I grew up in a place with extremely mixed people. I had friends from all over the world. You know, I'm definitely not a racist, but nevertheless, I'm proud of Swedish heritage in Sweden and what they are and who they are and what they look like. And I think that you should be able to. And it's a bit weird that, like I said, like the culture of internet where it's a little bit strange, you know, because your internet is removing the borders of countries, and a lot of people say a lot of things where if it would be a real world situation, you would hear that person talk, you would be like, oh no, you're an idiot. I'm not gonna listen to you anymore. But nature of internet is that text stays there, you know, and you can argue. Luxana. Yeah, exactly. And that's also kind of messed up. Like, of course you should be able to be proud of being German. And being German doesn't necessarily equate to not to Adolf Hitler, right? A German is a nation. I mean, the Germans existed before Hitler. Like there was nothing, then there was Hitler. Nah, that's not how it works. But I mean, it depends on who says it, right? Like, if you have a little like mustache and the hair comb to the side, and then you say you're proud of being German, then you could like, all right, you're one of those idiots that I should listen to, versus a random person that says I'm proud of Germany and I'm proud of being German. Those are the people you should listen to, you know, because they have pride in German engineering or whatever, the culture and all these things. This, any country, every country should be proud of what they contributed to the human history, because they are there for a reason. The country's there because they've done something good. You know, they're not this, I don't know. They've produced people, they've produced culture, they've produced history, and they should be honored and respected. They shouldn't be shut down, because there is, you know, there's so many different people, and all the different people's cultures should be respected and honored. But you should also, in that turn, respect everyone else, you know. Dear Bard, yeah, no, it doesn't. Cheers, Wanamir. Morphia, yeah, absolutely. I think that's the problem with internet, is like that there's no human to human contact, and a lot of arguments are being conducted over internet, where you are arguing the text against text, and it's not really the person. You never consider, is it a person I'm talking to? You are arguing the point that's been written, not the person. And I think that's a really bad part of internet, where we are connected like beautifully here with Invis graphics, which is, let's in this instance, which is in America, right? Coming from the islands over there, and I'm Swedish dude in Northern Europe, and that's fantastic. And we are people here, right? You can see me. I can't see you, but I do try to treat you like a person, not the text that you write. Like, I have a mental image almost of all of you, what you look like. Which is a bit weird, but I try to do that so that I remember you and respect you, and treat you like that you're actually and factually a human here, right? Because it's you've been treated to the fact that you can see me, right? Gria, yeah, new emotes. Hey, Weeping Jay, how's it going? I mean, absolutely. I mean, that's the point, right? We have to respect each other. Besides the fact that you should, you know, on this, beside the fact that you should be proud of who you are, you should never be ashamed of where you're coming from. Uh, but no one else should also shit on you because you're coming from somewhere else, you know. In the same way, you should never shit on anyone else because they're from a different part of the world or different culture. Um, Obviously, there's always exceptions to the rule when it's on the cost of someone else's life. Then obviously it's fucked up. And but those are always in extremes. There's always exceptions to the rule, you know, and there's no need to like pinpoint those extreme exceptions, because you know. Oh, well, that's true. I mean, you can learn to argue well, but that doesn't necessarily mean that everybody argues well on the internet. There's some really shit posters out there. Dear Bard, yeah, exactly. I love Self-Portrait Day, November 1st, and I was starting to see all the people's faces and so on. It's great. Cosmoverse, November 1st is International Self-Portrait Day. I've done it since 2004. I made a post of it on my website. Let me see. Let me try to Google it. Here. 2001, I did my first self-portrait. Oh, this was an animated one. I love doing these. It's a great. It's a great. You can see where you've been in your life. It's like a little bit of a timestamp. November 1st. That is correct. And I think if you go back to internet and discussions on internet, a lot of people, I think this is in general, not really due to internet, but in general, a lot of people, they need to learn to take a step back from their own ego and concede a point. There's very few people who in an argument can go, yeah, you're okay, you are right, but, and then you continue discussion like, yes, that point what you're saying right there, I have to agree with. Like, you know, how many times in a discussion do you hear that? It's not very often, and a lot of people need to have the ability to kind of see the big picture of things and not argue for the sake of just winning the argument, but argue the point, or argue the overall, like the act of discussion doesn't need to have an outcome of you winning. The general action of discussing something is that you share opinions in a constructive way, and ideally you will end up convincing, I mean obviously convincing the other person about your point, or all you need, well, a lot of times you should also just want to vent that point, right, instead of like, I am right, you are wrong. But I think a lot of stuff on internet has caused people to having to be right, like, you are wrong, I am right, therefore I am better. And a lot of people need to learn that doesn't necessarily need to be true, you know. I mean, yeah, like, I'm not a racist, but yeah, then you just stop listening. Luxana, yeah, exactly. Very one-sided. Cosmoverse, yeah, exactly. And I mean, I am friends with a lawyer. We go and drink beer now and then. So we sit and argue. Sounds like a really great pastime, right? Drink beer and argue. You know, you can see that in your mind where that goes. But it actually doesn't go bad, because both of us can argue the point or argue for the discussion, and sometimes we even take on, you know, we play devil's advocate. We take the part of the opposition of your own point to argue, to fully vet an idea in that sense, you know, or a discussion, where a lot of people generally have a hard time doing that because they're, in a way, broad term, their ego is in the way, right? Thereby, yeah, devil's advocate can be fun. But what you gotta just remember, I mean, a lot of times, like when I am in discussions with my lawyer friend who's great at constructing arguments, right? That's his daily professional life, is to construct arguments in a concrete and convincing manner, right? So you can already start to imagine the kind of level we are at, right? Or the frustration you might feel when you engage with him in a discussion where you can see him like turning the cogs, like tuk, 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 in every sentence he's making. He's already planning like 5 steps ahead of, gonna shit on you. But it's fascinating, and I love discussing things with him because he's smart, and he's also, like I said, he discusses for a living, and he's really good at it. And after a few beers, the discussions turn hilarious. One of you, yeah, exactly. So like you gotta be on your toes. But it also have helped me to understand that I don't need to win every argument. I'm open to be convinced by him about his point of view, but I'm still constantly going to try to argue my view on things, right? But if he manages to convince me, I won't continue to argue. I will say, okay, right, okay, you're right. But then I can like concede my point, right, and say, yeah, you're right. I have to agree now. But then I always try to how to say, like, continue the discussion. Like, I don't give up the discussion just because he is right on one point, So I adjust my argument, which is, it's a fascinating exercise in like constructing the constructing the argument. Amir, yeah, exactly. But I mean, I am no stranger for paying for drinks. I don't mind. I love the kind of culture of England that way, that one person buys the round for the whole table. I think that's a beautiful concept that didn't exist in Sweden. In Sweden, a lot of people pay for themselves, or very seldom a person in Sweden, when you're in a bar, goes, okay, what are you having? What are you having? What are you having? And then you go and do a mass order. I don't think I've ever experienced it in Sweden, except between my friends. So I mean, here I don't mind paying. Luxana. Well, today I asked all of you what I should draw, and I rolled a dice, so it ended up being Dearbard. He said fire goal. I started sketching another pose, but I felt like the pose was quite generic, and it would have been just a zombie without a head, and there would be no tension in the idea. So what I did now was I redrew it. I scrapped the first sketch and I redrew it and bound him to get some meat to the idea. Whatever this idea is, or whatever I try to say with it, I don't really know, but at least there's some dynamics into the picture. And I try to envision it in my mind, like the idea. Like you can say a warm summer day like where you are happy, you will get a picture like, oh, in a field with flowers and a tree and you know, warm. That picture I have practiced doing with anything. What's a monster? Oh, what kind of monster? Oh, it eats dirt. Okay, then a big mouth, apparently my mind wanted to say, and gills that spreads the dirt out, takes the nutrients from the dirt. Just practice being creative, I guess. My favorite beer, the problem I have now is that I'm very extremely gluten sensitive, so I can't have my favorite beer. But Kronenberg was my favorite beer in England. There is some very tasty Latvian beers. I don't really have one specific brand I need to drink. I tend to just explore, buy different kinds, and then find a favorite, and then buy different ones and find a favorite. So I try to vary it up a bit. But generally speaking, I like kind of complex flavors, like whiskey, meat, full-bodied wines, you know, where there's more than one experience in the flavor. So beers that are like not too sweet, I tend to go for. Cheers, dear buddy. Iglesias, yeah, exactly. There's a lot of, in Sweden, there's a lot of like, I think in general it's a lot of, at least when I lived in Sweden, it was a lot of mind your own business type mentality. Like, in that being said, on a bus, there's almost no loud talking. Everyone sits in their own corner, in their own bubble. There's no interaction. Except when I lived in Sweden, then I talked to everyone. I was like the crazy guy on the bus. Especially on the night bus home. I was like, screw this. But yeah, I was the odd one in the norms of Sweden. I guess that's why I also moved away from Sweden. Nah, fuck this. Luxana, yeah, absolutely. There is always export shelves of exported German beers. I try to sample some, like Weissbier and stuff like that. But I'm not too fond of Weissbier. They're okay, but a lot of German beer is kind of fruity. Or like, there's a lot of bouquet. I don't know. But I try a lot of different beers, for sure. Belgian beers as well. Deerbard, yeah, exactly. It's the climate that makes people isolated. The heavy darkness. Oh shit, time is up. One last, what I love to do, by the way, was this as well. Let's see. And then you did like that. Like a wash on top. I think that's better. That's has better color separation. This is have more impact. All right, that's it. Time is up. Voodoo breakfast, you did. Welcome to the end. White bears are nice. They are. Time is up. Any suggestions on who to raid? Or is it dealer's choice? Do you guys like to raid Chloe Ventura? This girl on traditional art, drawing animals usually. Let's raid her. Let's see your name. That's correct. All right. As per usual, make sure to give her some love. Click her follow button a couple of times. Even amount so that you end up following her. Have a great day. Good night if you're that part of the world. I'm going to do the outro, and after the outro, I'm going to take us to the raid. So hang tight. Have a great day. See you tomorrow morning. Bye.